Yo, I'm back with a bunch of questions I get asked a lot. I'm gonna answer all of them in this video. Never ask me any of these questions again. What do you do with all the board games you don't keep? So yeah, I get sent a lot of games to review. I buy a lot of games. Clearly, that's a lot of games. What I do is I give them away to friends. Usually I just put out a list of, hey, anybody want these games? And they all swarm in like vultures and take them. Anything I don't give away to friends, I will donate to charity. Where did you go to college? I went to Michigan State University. My major was Media Arts and Technology. I don't think that's a major anymore. I think they changed the name of it. But anyway, I did a lot of audio and video stuff back then. And I guess to still do now, huh? Have you ever considered designing a board game? If you had asked me pre-pandemic, I would have said no. Now I'm like, yeah, maybe. I've designed a lot of weird game stuff on my own, like a homebrew Pokemon RP, Mario and Pokemon trivia, and I have been approached here and there about would you be interested. So I'll say I am definitely curious. If it ever happens, that'd be cool. So yeah, I at this point I'd say yes, I would do it. Do you play D&D? I have played it twice, and I think it's not my thing. I think it's kind of boring. I like the role-playing. I find the combat excruciatingly boring, and I also find high fantasy incredibly boring. So I know you don't have to do high fantasy, but a lot of people do, and I just would rather play a board game. I find D&D at best pretty fun, but definitely not something I want to commit a lot of time to. What was the worst Let's Try Food video to get through? At the time of this video, I looked back. I think I blocked a lot of them out from memory. But I think the worst one was the Chips Ahoy one. I hated most of the Chips Ahoy. It was bad. The Goldfish one was pretty bad too. The Subway one was also pretty bad just because of how long it took and how bland it was. But I'm going to say the Chips Ahoy one was the worst one. What was your favorite Let's Try video to do? Easy. Caviar. I got to just eat a bunch of delicious caviar. It was awesome. I wish I could do that for every video. Do you ever record voiceover from home? I actually mostly go in studio 99% of the time. A lot of actors work from home now in remote in their booths. I just much prefer to work in studio whenever possible, so I always ask them if I can, provided it's safe. And so I have recorded voiceover from home, and I still do, but the majority of what I record is in local studios. Basically, I record a lot in the studio, but every now and then I do record from home. I do have a mic for it and everything. What voiceover role was the most challenging for you? It's always the ones that have the most screaming, and I recently recorded something, it's not out yet, but I did a lot of roaring and screaming as a big monster, which I don't do like a ton of that kind of stuff, and yeah, it was very challenging, definitely shreds your throat if you're not careful, had to stay hydrated throughout. Yeah, I feel like if I had done this even 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to get through it. But I think at the point I'm at now, I was able to do it and also not lose my voice. Anything with sort of that screaming, roaring, blood-curdling roar stuff. Is there any anime or game or anything you wish you could experience for the first time again? It's funny, this comes up a lot in conversation, whether through fans or just through friends, and I'm the type of person where I don't really want to experience something for the first time again, because for me, I have too much stuff on my plate to experience already. I want to watch and play and do all this stuff. I don't have time to reset my brain and play stuff I already did. I understand the intention of the question, because it's I could play Ace Attorney again and experience the twists, and I get that. But for me, there's just nothing that I'd be like, oh man, I want to replay it again. For me, I can just have fun remembering, how I experienced it at the time. If it was something I could just instantly do without spending time, then yeah, maybe Ace Attorney or Zero Escape or Monster or anything with really great twists. But otherwise, it's not something that interests me, that hypothetical. What's the difference between voice acting for a game versus voice acting for a show? In a game, you usually have a lot more dialogue, and usually in that, sometimes you just get a straight up Excel sheet. It's just an Excel sheet with all your lines. If you're lucky, you'll get like, you know, the other person's dialogue. Sometimes you don't even get that, and you're just going down. Oh, that, and also for games, you'll have like a battle grid if it's like a, you know, a game where you have to fight. So you just gotta record like, you know, those kind of sounds, and just do a whole bunch of those, like a whole voice bank. So that's voice acting for a game. For a show, usually it's a lot less dialogue, and usually you can do, especially for like prelay or cartoons, you can kind of do it in like a run. Like in a game, you might go line by line or a couple lines at a time, whereas in a show, they might have you do the whole scene from start to finish, and then go from the top again and go start to finish, which I actually prefer because I like kind of being able to, you know, be in the moment. Also with a show, if you're lucky, this doesn't happen much nowadays because of COVID, but if you get to record in an ensemble where the other actors are with you in the booth, that's really fun because you get to feed off other actors' energy and play off of them. And that's something that happens in shows more often, or at least used to. Games, I've never had that happen with a game, and I don't think it's very common. Usually in a game, you're pretty much solo. Oh, also with a show, if it's anime, you get to see the finished animation on screen, and if it's a show, if you're lucky, you'll get to see like storyboards, so you'll at least get to kind of get a sense of what the action is like. Whereas in a game, if you're doing the voiceover, you're like the first part, so you kind of have to imagine a lot of it in your head. Unless you're dubbing a game, and that's a whole different thing. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? You know, I think I've changed over the years, but I think at my core, I'm definitely an introvert. I have extroverted tendencies, you know, like if I'm really, you know, with a lot of people that I'm good friends with, I can be very, you know, excitable and, you know, out there. But if I'm around like people I don't know, I'm usually a lot quieter. And I'm also not the type of person who has to be like the attention in the room, the life of the party, you know, like everyone look at me. That's really not my nature. And I feel like some extroverts really feed off of that. I don't. So, yeah, definitely more introvert. And I think as I've become more well-known over the years, that's just gotten worse and worse. Where I just... people have their perceptions of what I should be like. And I'm like, well, I don't think I'm meeting up. A lot of people expect me to be really, hey, what's up? You know, like, I'm this big, goofy guy. And I'm like, I'm just kind of a very chill, low-key guy. So maybe that's also just part of introvertedness. I don't know. But, yeah. Anyway, those were all the questions I get asked a lot. Please don't ask me any of these ever again. Okay, bye.